This happened to a girl I know. Let's call her Betty. So Betty had been dating this guy for a while, and she thought he was super great. One day, after a few weeks of dating, the guy invites Betty over to his house for dinner and to meet his parents. Dinner was going well, and Betty was getting along with the guy's parents. All of a sudden, she felt the need to take a shit. She asked to be excused to use the restroom, and the family told her to use the first bathroom on the second floor. Betty went up the bathroom and took a truly massive shit, like something you've never seen before. She tried to flush the toilet, but the poop wasn't going down. It was clogged. Betty looked around for a plunger, but there were none to be found. She started to panic. She really wanted this evening to go well, and didn't want to be caught as the one that clogged up the shitter during dinner, as they would definitely know that she was the culprit. In an act of pure desperation, Betty began grabbing the shit out of the toilet with toilet paper, so her hands wouldn't be covered in poop. She took the poop and began throwing it out of the window. In her mind, she thought that she had to do anything necessary to erase the evidence. After successfully flinging all of her stool out the window, she left the bathroom and went back to dinner. She walked into the dining room to see that all of the family members looked awestruck. She noticed that the youngest sibling was looking up at the ceiling. It turned out that this family had one of those see-through sky windows on the ceiling, and it happened to be located directly below the window to the second floor bathroom. The shit she had thrown out the window had plopped right onto the sky window. Out of spectacular levels of embarrassment, Betty just left the house and went home. Guy next to me on the bench of a 1988 Toyota pickup had diarrhea. It spread across the nylon surface like grease in a hot pan. It soaked in everywhere. Too long don't read. Someone else shat in my pants. This was my first date. I was 16. I scored hockey tickets and asked the girl I really liked to go with me. To my surprise, she agreed. We made it to the game just fine. Then things started to go in the shitter. Basically, I was nervous and more than half stupid because I bought us ice cream bars. Paid for both because after all, I was the man. She commented how she liked them, so I bought us 2 more. And naturally paid for both because I was the man. Except she didn't want another one because she wasn't an ice cream eating monster. So I ate both because I was the man. That was my first mistake. Next mistake. At the intermission, we went for popcorn or pretzels or whatever they had served in hockey games in the 90s, and I remembered thinking it would be a bad idea to buy Coke because the caffeine could make me hyper, and I don't want to bloat with this girl. So I bought a large chocolate milk instead because I was the man. Shortly after the second period puck drop, lactose intolerance started to kick in. It turns out too much dairy is just too much dairy even if you aren't really intolerant. At some point your body just decides to not tolerate it and makes you pay for being stupid, even if you were the man and paid for everything. So I excused myself from a date and wandered to the bathroom. And by that, of course, I ran like a motherfucker as soon as I was out of her vision. The restrooms at the time basically had 1 stall each, and if I recall correctly, I was reduced to screaming at the handicapped dude to hurry up so I don't have to shit in the sink. I know that happened during my 3rd or 4th trip, just not sure it was the first one. Yelling at the dude not using the sink. Only monsters use the sink. Never use the sink. After 20 or so minutes of horror, I left the stall to see a terrified little boy waiting his turn. Not sure if my constant swearing or the condition the stall I left it in scarred him more. Returned to my seat, explained it off as, "You wouldn't believe the lineups," which I'm pretty sure she totally believed because I was kinda the man. Except, somehow the man started feeling funky again. To save embarrassment, I came up with the awesome cover. "Sorry, gonna throw up, move." And then I ran to the bathroom and threw up out of my ass again. Cycle repeated. Honestly, not sure how many times. The only notable other time was when I ended up in a stall without toilet paper, and knowing the condition of my ass, I had to sacrifice my jersey so I could keep some thin bit of dignity. To which, when questioned during some part of the 5 total minutes of ice time I got to witness in the second and third periods, I lied smoothly, being the man and all. I threw up on it so I had to get rid of it, and when she asked why I didn't want to take it home and wash it, I replied, because I have tons of them, and when she asked, Won't you be cold? I answered, no, because I'm the man. I later realized I should have used a t-shirt under the jersey instead, but I wasn't a rocket engineer. I was a man. Anyways, it was the shittiest Leaf game ever, and that's saying a lot since I grew up watching them in the 80s. I picked up a random at the bar. Things started to get hot and heavy, so we got a taxi back to mine. We were all over each other the whole way back. So we're having sex. After a while it sounds like she's getting close to an orgasm. I then smell this horrible odor. I thought to myself, she must have farted. Her moans are getting louder. I keep pounding away, trying to mentally block out the smell. A few minutes later she begins to orgasm. The smell gets worse. I feel something mushing into my thighs. No, it can't be. I turned on the light and this poor girl had shit everywhere. It was all over my pickle, all down my legs, all over my bed, everywhere. She tries to blame it on me, saying I shouldn't have fingered her arse on the way home. I told her to just get in the shower and don't worry about it. This part of the story is probably the worst. I said I didn't get to finish and got her to give me a BJ in the shower. I ended up finishing it in her mouth as the shit was still washing down the shower drain. We ended up sharing the most awkward taxi ride back into the city of all time. It was a cold morning, around 6:30 a.m. I was a junior in high school, and I rode the bus to school because I lived about 30 miles from there, and gas was more expensive than a bus pass. Normally, I either sat with my friend or with my headphones on and minded my own business, so I didn't know many of the people on my bus. As we pulled closer to the bus ramp up to school, I felt a deep disturbance in the force. It started as a gurgling in my stomach, and soon I felt like I was going to throw up. Now, the line that built up in front of the school because of normal car traffic and bus traffic usually caused us to be in stop and go for around 15 minutes while within a mile of the school. I felt sick right at minute 1. What started as the feeling of throwing up soon turned out to be one of the most horrendous plot twists the likes of Shyamalan would never dream of. The churning in my stomach crept into my lower abdomen, and I knew that it was going to be a bad time. The next 15 minutes were agonizing. I was sweating and physically uncomfortable in my seat. As we drove closer to the bus ramp, I was genuinely feeling like I was going to shit my pants on this bus, in front of all these people. Luckily, I was able to keep my poop soup in, and when the bus pulls into the ramp, I sprint as fast as I can while clenching my ass cheeks together until I found the closest bathroom. This bathroom was the main one in the center of the school. Luckily, one stall was open. I buzzed in, threw off my pants, and let loose what can only be described as the shit equivalent of a nuclear bomb. If it wasn't for me holding onto the walls of the stall, I would have skyrocketed a few feet in the air in a fiery explosion of feces. My ass cheeks made a sound that I can only compare to when you blow up a balloon and let it go without tying it. This went on for what felt like hours. Side note, I ended up being late to my first class, and was legitimately one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And to top it off, there was only one other person in the bathroom, and over the deafening sound of my volcano-like ass, I hear this poor mortal say, "God damn, man," and ran out of the bathroom.